Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Moods, Minds, and Manifestations podcast, featuring real people, real experiences, and real talk. And I'm your host, Moca. So let's get into it. My guest today is Justine Montgomery, and Justine and I have known each other for, close to 30 years. Can you believe it?
Yes.
When we met in college all those years ago, I had a little idea who you were because you were on the tennis team, and I remember sitting behind you in a math class, and I believe you asked me something about a math problem that we'd been working on, and we started talking, and we've remained friends ever since.
Yes.
So Justine is a police officer based in Florida, and I thought it would be interesting to have a conversation with her today. Her position is a really unique one, being a female police officer, a school resource officer, as a mom of 2 school-age kids, and the wife of a police officer.
Yes.
And given the way things are with school shootings and things like that, I thought it would be interesting to get her perspective on these things. So Justine, welcome. It's nice to have you.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm really happy you are able to spend some time talking to me today.
Thank you for speaking with me. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
So, my first question is, what made you decide to become a police officer?
Wow. That's from a long time ago. I really don't know what made me decide. I just one day decided I wanted to be a police officer. And I remember being 19 years old, and I remember going down to the Broward Community College, back then what it was called, and looking into it, because that's where they have the police academy. So I got all the information and started looking into it, and then I started telling people in general that I wanted to be a police officer, and everybody's like, why do you want to be a police officer? Well, you're too young. I guess I started second guessing myself, and I decided that I was going to hold off on it, and I ended up working as a dispatcher / 911 call taker for the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. So I ended up doing that instead. But in the meantime, prior to that, I ended up getting pregnant and having a kid at a young age, which kind of delayed me a few years there too. And then right after I had my son, he was about a year and a half, I got the job with Fort Lauderdale.
How long has this been now? A long time, right?
Yeah, I'm in my 23rd year.
Wow.
And when I was working as the dispatcher and the call taker, I decided that I did not like that. I did not enjoy doing that. It wasn't for me. So I decided that's when I decided that I was going to become a police officer. And then in turn, that's when I started pursuing it again and then ended up getting hired.
Okay, so you went through the boot camp and all of that stuff just like everybody else.
I went to the police academy,
And
5.5 months.
Okay, and did all of the training. Okay, and do you have to do additional training from time to time to keep up on any licensing or things like that?
Yes, every year we do 40-hour mandatory training, and every year it's different blocks, and they do it in 4 blocks. So throughout the year, they break it down into 4 sessions. And as a matter of fact, we just had a block a couple weeks ago. It was a driving block and traffic stop scenarios. And if you handle the scenario right, you don't get shot at. If you don't, you get shot at.
Oh, gosh. As far as being a police officer, you're essentially in a position of power and enforcing the law. What kind of psychological evaluations do police officers go through prior to becoming and while being a police officer?
Well, when you get hired, they put you through a psychological. And if you don't pass it, then obviously you don't get hired. If you do, you get hired. But they don't do any other psychological evaluation like throughout your career.
Your career.
You do
Wow.
One initial one. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting because things happen and Unless you've had a very quiet, uneventful career, there are things that might happen that might have an effect on people somehow. So I'm a little surprised that they don't do, even if it's at intervals, like 5 years or whatever, over a period of time. But I imagine if something major does happen where you were involved in a shooting or whatever, would they then put you through some kind of evaluation or no?
Yeah, I'm sure if something happens or they get jammed up and get in trouble, sometimes they make them have to take a psych evaluation to come back to work. I'm sure they do all that. They have to get cleared to come back. I'm not exactly sure what the extent of it is because I haven't been through it, but I'm sure that there's some type of protocol in order for them to come back.
Okay. And you're a school resource officer, if I got that correct?
Yes.
What made you decide to be a school resource officer versus being out on the street?
Well, I did work the road for about 5 years, and then I just decided that I wanted to work with the kids.
Okay.
Then I started working with the high school kids, and I enjoyed that, but that was a while ago. Now I slowly worked my way in with the elementary kids, but it's great.
Okay.
You know, you show up to work every day, and the kids love you. You know, they still like you.
Okay. And what does your day look like on the job? What are your duties entail on a regular basis?
I get to work 7:30. I do my traffic while we have our morning drop off. Then I go inside, usually go into my office, hang out in there for a bit. It's kind of, I don't do the same thing every day. I walk around. You know, we have a security monitor here at the school. She walks around a lot, checks around the campus. You know, I walk around as well. Come out to my car, hang out in the front of the school a lot. You know, I sit in the front of the school in my car. I just hang out, yeah.
That's good. I'm glad it's, almost uneventful. That's a really good thing these days when nothing is going on. And how many school resource officers are at the school that you work at?
Oh, just one, just me.
Okay. But you said there was another person that walks around?
Yes, Broward County Schools hired security campus monitors.
Okay.
So she walks around and she lets people in and out of the gate. She patrols the gates and just anything the school needs her to do. We used to teach a program called SOAR, and they had stopped it for a few years when they were focusing more on safety of the school and security. They were talking about bringing the program back next year, next school year.
What's that program? SOAR?
It's a program geared towards, there's like 11 lessons, and they teach kids about character traits, bullying, gangs, bicycle safety. There's a lot of different subjects that we teach the kids, and we as officers teach it to the 5th grade class.
Okay.
To kind of prepare them for what to expect in middle school. Like I said, we taught that for years, and they stopped doing it, and they're talking about starting it back up again next year.
That'd be great if they did that. Sounds like a really great program. You have 3 sons. One is an adult, and then the 2 younger ones are school aged. Do any of them attend the school where you work?
No.
Okay.
No.
I did want to ask, and I've always been curious, and I don't know why I never asked you until now. Like, what is it like being a female police officer in a male-dominated field?
It's not bad. I don't think it's bad. I personally always kind of wanted to work around guys because I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of like one of the guys, I guess, as you would say. So I don't really have a problem with it because I don't have a problem standing up for myself and, saying what's right, what's not right, whether they're men or not. I mean, I do know that in the beginning, when I first started 23 years ago, things have changed a little bit. There will always be some men that will probably believe that women don't belong in law enforcement. It's not, but that's okay because it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
You need men and you need women. We're built differently. We're there for different reasons. I never personally had a problem, and I don't feel intimidated by the men or anything like that.
That's really good to know. And your husband is also a police officer, so,
yes.
You're around it a lot. Okay.
There is a lot of females in law enforcement now. When I started 23 years ago, it's expanded majorly. So we do have a lot more females.
I realize that. But, as you said, there's always going to be some male officers that don't like that.
Always. That'll never change.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, as a mom, What are your feelings on school security these days? As a mom of two school age kids, how do you feel about, when you drop them off for school, as far as the security that's in their school, for example?
Either way, it's a scary thought. My older son goes to a high school, and occasionally, I wouldn't say every week, but maybe every couple weeks, you'll get an alert that they said they had to lock down the school due to, an investigation or something happening around the school. As a matter of fact, last week, there was, I guess, a rumor circulating around that there was going to be maybe a shooting at one of the schools, but it wasn't like a specific school. It was a very broad statement. My son wanted to stay home, but I had him go to school because they didn't specifically pinpoint his school.
I totally get it. It's like, on the one hand, you don't want to live in fear. The situation
Right.
is the way it is. The society is the way it is, and we'll never accept it. But you still have to
Right.
put one foot in front of the other and keep going, It's unfortunate. Like, I homeschool my kids their whole school life, but, we know things can happen wherever and whenever, just the way things are these
True.
days. So my question to you is, do you have any kind of protocol that you've worked out with your kids in the case of something happening? They both have phones. Have you talked to them about what they should do in the event of armed shooter or situation where they're feeling immediately threatened or to some degree threatened? Do you have a safety plan as far as keeping contact with you and you with them and things like that?
To an extent. My little one doesn't have a phone. He goes to a private school. But yeah, my older son has a phone. We've discussed it, but there's no specific plan because you just never know what's going to happen.
Right.
It's like one of those things where, you just don't know how it's going to happen and how it's going to go down.
Right.
So it's hard to make a specific plan. But he does know, and we do talk to him. My husband and I both do talk to our kids about, stuff like that.
I kind of hate to be even talking about it, but that's just the reality. And I'm thinking, if my kids were still school aged, and, I would say, well, okay, if, God forbid something happens and there's a shooter, do you dive under the desk, or what do you do? Like, things like that. Is there a safer area in the school if you can get to that? Or do you just listen to what the teacher says? That's the kind of thing I'd be wrestling with.
Yeah, like I said, if you're in a classroom, you're better off staying in the classroom, and because the school has protocol of what they're supposed to do. They do active shooter training once a month at every school.
Okay.
I do it here at my elementary school, and the high schools do it as well. The teachers are trained and are told what to do, and the kids are as well. They all have to participate in the drill. So they do that at school, yes, and it's done once a month.
Okay.
They do a fire drill and a active shooter drill once a month.
And sadly, that's the reality, but I'm glad to hear at least there's that training. I hope we never become so used to it that we become numb, but preparation is better than just being clueless as to what to do. And even with training, we know they might not all know what to do, but at least some preparation is better than none.
Some of your training instincts will kick in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Things that you have learned, and have been taught and told to do will kick in. It'll, if you practice it enough, and something, God forbid, if something does happen, your instincts a lot of times will kick in.
Right. And then as far as you being the school resource officer, do you have any specific training that your supervisors or superiors give you? Like, besides what the kids learn?
Yeah, this summer before school started, we had a huge whole scenario. I actually have the video. I can send it to you if you'd like. We had fire rescue involved, law enforcement, and we went around doing active shooter. We used my school, actually, my elementary school that I work in, and did a whole scenario, did multiple scenarios of active shooters.
Yeah, that would be great. Please send me the link, and I'll include it in the description section below the podcast so that anybody that's interested in seeing what your training is like can view the video. This training, all the schools do it, or all the school resource officers do it, or is it just unique to you guys?
Yeah.
Or
all of the officers in the police department did it.
Okay.
They did it in different sessions, but yes, all the SROs did it. We did it all at one time, because usually we do all of our training as a unit, because we have, because it's hard, because we work in the schools Monday through Friday. So whenever we do our trainings, we usually go as a whole unit together. But they also train road patrol because, if God forbid, if something ever happens, you're going to need road patrol will be responding too. So
Okay.
they need to, practice with the scenarios too, because, the layout of the school and, stuff like that is important too. Because a lot of these big schools, like these road patrol officers don't come into the schools too often, and they don't know the layouts of the schools, especially like some of these high schools. They're big.
Yeah, they're like resorts, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole police department does the training.
Okay. So personally, how do you feel like these high-powered AR-15s that are being used so frequently? How do you personally feel that you would be able to handle that scenario? Would you call for backup, or would you like run right into, defending the school and the students? How would you handle that? I've always been worried about you in that way. Like, if that, hopefully that never happens and you never have to see that scenario. But personally, like, how do you feel about the training you've had? Do you feel prepared that you could handle that kind of attack, so to speak?
That's a hard one. First of all, I would go in. You got little young kids. These are your kids. I would go in. Obviously, yes, you call for backup, but I couldn't just leave somebody shooting a high-powered rifle off and not do anything.
Right, but I assume you don't have a high-powered weapon.
No, I do not, and some do. Some officers do, but they're in the cars.
Okay.
And, in order to get back to your car, that's one of the problems that we've been going back and forth. Or some officers are allowed to keep them in their office in a gun safe, I guess, in some cities, from what I understand. The policy is we keep them in our car.
Right.
So with that being said, all you have is your handgun.
Right.
Right on you.
Right. My point is that I'll just ask, do you feel that you have the resources to properly defend yourself and the kids and all of that? Do you feel your training and the actual weapon that you have is enough to deal with the situation? Or do you feel that you should have more support or more resources, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I guess I have mixed feelings. I mean, yes and no. And there's only, I guess, so much you can do. And like I said, at the end of the day, if that's all I have to go with what I have.
Do the best you can,
to
right?
do what I,
Yeah.
try to do the best I can with
Yeah.
what I have.
Yeah.
That's all we could do sometimes.
Because what my feeling was, I've followed or heard about various school shootings where whether school resource officers or police officers that are based on a campus may not have gone in quickly or at all. And, of course, people are, people are upset, but I'm not a police officer, but I'm just thinking, if I'm a police officer and somebody's having a high-powered weapon, I would feel at such a disadvantage. Of course you do what you can, but it's like, are you just putting yourself in a line of death? And I guess that comes with the job itself. But
Yes.
I just always wondered if police officers, trained police officers, not teachers, trained police officers, if they should have more weaponry or resources in that sense. And resources could even include more training. But from what you've said, you have a good amount of training. So I'm really happy to hear that. If your sons said to you, Mom, I think I want to become a police officer, what advice would you give them?
I'd say become a firefighter or paramedic.
Firefighter or paramedic, okay. Why specifically?
I just think law enforcement has become very dangerous. Law enforcement's changed, from the beginning. I mean, it's always been dangerous, but it's just changed. And I just would
prefer that they,
I would just, I would prefer my kids to become firefighters / paramedics.
If they had to choose some kind of service profession.
They had to choose that. That profession. That's what my choice for them would be.
I fully understand, because actually, fun fact, when I was younger, much younger, I remember career day at high school, and one of the professions that I wanted to pursue was as a private detective.
Okay.
Law enforcement in that regard. But my thought was, as I got older, that, it might not be, not so much because I was a female, but it may not be the safest profession. And I knew I wanted to have kids and grow old and watch them grow. So I thought maybe it's not such a good idea to put myself in that scenario. So therefore I didn't do it. And I've always been fascinated with you. You're still feminine, but you can hold your own. And I've just admired you over the years for tackling this profession and still going strong and being very effective at it. So I admire you for that, for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
And we see how dangerous it's gotten, as you've said. Do you ever feel like the way things are going that you may want to retire from it sooner than later, or do you plan to keep going until regular retirement?
No, I plan to leave in the next few years.
Oh, really? Okay.
2 years or less.
Okay. And what do you think you're
Yeah.
gonna embark on next? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm still pondering it here because I have a feeling I'm gonna get bored because I like to stay busy. But I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll enjoy it. It might be weird at first, but I'm sure to get used to it. I mean, I've talked to many officers recently who've retired, and they're saying they love it.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Would it be considered early retirement, or is that standard in your field?
Well, it's we have 20 years and then an 8-year drop. So you do your 20 years and you can leave after you do your 20 years, or you can stay. You can stay anywhere from a year to 8, whatever you choose. So my husband will be staying and doing the full 8, and then I'll leave halfway through the drop.
Okay.
So he stays and he's going to finish the full 8 years because he brought back his military time. He has to leave in like 17 months. I'll be following shortly behind him so we can, leave together.
That sounds good, because honestly, as your friend for so long, I do always worry how things are going with you there, and given the state of affairs right now in the US with, the shootings. Although it can happen anywhere. Yeah, so I am really happy we had this conversation.
Yes.
I've been curious about these questions for quite a long time, but I just never got around to asking you. So I'm so happy you were able to answer them today. And I hope our listeners will find this information helpful.
Yes.
All right, Justine.
Well, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
We'll talk soon. Okay, you and the family stay safe now. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Okay, you too. Thank you so much.
Sure, bye-bye.
Bye.
If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe to hear upcoming podcasts. And please share with family and friends. Thanks for listening.